as reported in Visor Down this week. I think they also had this on MCN as well, and that's the KOVE, or is it KOVE? Not quite sure. Could be Cove.
I think it's Cove, actually, yeah.
Oh, is it? 800X Pro, which is actually a Ténéré style bike. If you look at it, it's very similar in proportions.
Yeah.
And they were actually showing this off at ABR. I saw their stand. It was on our sort of little walk between the campsite and the main festival area.
Yeah.
And I think next year, if I get a chance, I'd love to take one of these out and see what it performs like, because on paper it really does look quite good. And it's a very off-road biased spec. I think they have a more road biased version of this 800, but this X Pro is the, you know, Ténéré-esque version. It's a 799cc parallel twin that makes 95 horsepower. So that's a good 20 odd horsepower up on the Ténéré 700. Top speed of 130, and yeah, it's a very off-road biased chassis, so 21-inch front, 17 at the rear. I think they're tubeless, which is nice to see. Tall KYB suspension, front and rear, so it's got 275mm ground clearance, I believe, which is 30mm more than the standard version. Adjustable seat height between 865 and 875mm, so again in the similar range to the standard Ténéré. And I think it looks like a pretty impressive package. In fact, they say it weighs 185 kilograms. I'm not sure if that's dry or wet. I'd imagine dry weight, so the wet weight would probably be up around the 200 mark or a little more. I don't know, that looks quite tasty, doesn't it?
Yeah, so weirdly enough, it is obviously in conversation at the moment, yeah, because Andy was telling me about this one, actually. So it's, I believe, about 20 kilograms lighter than the Ténéré, somehow, and everyone that was standing around it was kind of like, don't know how they've done that. And I said, is it like a dry weight versus wet weight thing? Are they just fudging the score? But apparently it is lighter, and it will almost certainly be cheaper. So yeah, not a bad option. And I know obviously they've got the Cove 450 rally as well, which actually I did spot one at the ABR festival. Not on a stand, actually. One of the people had brought it, I think. But yeah, apparently that's really good as well in its class. So they're making waves, yeah.
Interestingly, I think you're right about the weight. So the weight that they've quoted here in this article, I'm not quite sure where that comes from. But on the Cove Moto South Africa website, it says it's 190 kilograms in running order with a full tank of fuel, 178 without fuel. And so that is quite a bit lighter than the 205 kilogram wet weight of the Ténéré. Yes, it's a good 10, 15 kilograms less, if those are accurate. Gosh, I don't know about all these official weight figures. I'd probably only really comment on that when I had both bikes on scales.
Yeah, literally, you'd need some scales as well, because what are you going to do? Because feel is a very different thing, right? Because it could be holding the weight differently as well. So
sure. Yeah, I know there are some people who review bikes and they'll weigh the bikes as part of that process. Obviously, getting a big weigh-in bay thing is quite expensive, but if you literally get 2 bathroom scales and roll the bike front wheel on one, rear wheel on the other, and then add up the weight from both, that is, I've seen people do that. Apparently, that's not a bad techers. Maybe I should get some bathroom scales for that purpose, actually, in the office.
I'd love to see you try it. If you do, please make sure I'm present for when you actually inaugurally try this out.
Well, it'd be a bit of good sort of consumer advice and validation of the official weights, rather. Anyway, it was confirmed at ABR for the UK with a price of £8,499. And so Visor Down compare it to quite a few of the competitions. So £4,000 less than a KTM 890 Adventure, £2,000 less than a Touareg 660, over 1,500 quid less than the base spec Ténéré 700, and even £1,000 less than the Transalp 750 from Honda, which is a lot more road biased. And so if you want an off-road biased adventure bike that's at a really affordable price, then that actually does look pretty good. Although obviously we can't comment on like longevity and like obviously it's a new bike and all the sort of reliability and build quality and stuff. There'll be questions about that until there's a few owners' reviews out there. I will also say it looks like it's a welded-on subframe, not bolt-ons, so you might get in trouble if you bend it there. You might have to replace the whole frame, things like that. So I'd love to give it a closer inspection and review to see how it stacks up. But on paper, not bad, and it's sort of in the price range that the Ténéré 700 was in years ago when they launched it, when it looked like a really good value bike. Then it got really popular and the price has crept up to over 10 grand now. And so this maybe is the modern day equivalent of what the Ténéré originally offered when it was first announced.
Yeah, I think so. I think with a lot of the Chinese brands as well. So the CF Moto is another good example where they've come in at a really aggressive price point. It's very impressive, and obviously that tempts in a crowd and an audience. I think when the conversation dies down about reliability from Chinese brands and Chinese bikes, that price will creep up. That is only there at the moment to get people interested. Once they know they can charge more, they will start charging more. And in a weird way, sort of on this one, actually, it does look like it's not just going for we're cheaper, but it's the same. This is going for literally like trump card sort of figures, trying to sort of top trump them on it, where they'll go, yeah, that bike's great, but do you want one that's 20 kilograms lighter or 15 kilograms lighter? You know, so they're actually going for their headline specs as well. It's not just going for, this is an imitation of it, but at least it's cheaper. They're genuinely trying to perform there, and it's impressive, but I would love to see, a few years down the line, I just want to see what these are like to live with.
We'll have to try and seek out the contact for KOVE in the UK, or KOVE rather, and try and get hold of one. But it's definitely on the list now.